You're watching News 12 Long Island. We are live at 5:12. Does race and ethnicity play a factor in who gets arrested? Tonight, our investigative reporter Thomas Mayer examines that issue in our special News 12 Newsday two-part series, Unequal Justice.
Legal Secretary Tamara Clark has never been in trouble with the law, but a few years ago, Suffolk police stopped her while driving in Brentwood.
I was just pulled over, and it was randomly, and I says, "Is there anything wrong?"
Clark says eventually she was let go without any explanation about why she was stopped in the first place.
If they were saying to me, "We were looking for a black Toyota with a middle-aged woman," and yes, that is a reason to suspect me. But you can't just pull every black male and every black female over.
It's a common belief on the street. If you're black or Hispanic, cops target you for traffic stops and issue tickets for the smallest of reasons.
Things that any other ordinary driver wouldn't even think that they would get stopped for. You have a sticker in your bumper, you have something hanging on your rear view mirror.
When I see a cop, sometimes I got nervous.
The hotspot policing is a concept that's relatively new.
But after 21 years on the force, Suffolk Detective Sergeant Mike McDowell says race is not and should not be a factor in traffic stops.
Someone's race should have no bearing upon why the person is stopped or arrested. It should not come into play.
When it comes to traffic stops, do cops tend to target black and Hispanic drivers because of their race? Police say no. But our investigation reveals minorities in Nassau and Suffolk are far more likely to be stopped and arrested than whites. We examined more than 100,000 arrest records over the past decade, most from traffic stops. Our study found a racial pattern in every category from resisting arrest to drug possession. Overall, 63% of felony arrests on Long Island involve minorities, though minorities are only 27% of the population. And if arrested, black and Hispanics were twice as likely as whites to get convicted and go to jail for the same offenses.
The anecdote that we've heard here across Long Island, as well as some of the data that we've been able to get over time, has indicated that indeed there is some sort of racial and ethnic bias in terms of how policing happens here on the island.
Nassau's former acting police commissioner, who retired in July, denies cops engage in racial profiling. But he says they do focus on minority neighborhoods.
We are very focused on being fair and unbiased. A lot of times that the communities that are predominantly minority, you'll find, have a high propensity of crime.
But Suffolk's police commissioner says the apparent racial pattern in traffic stops and arrests should be explored.
There is some disproportionality when it comes to stopping whites and African Americans. But the question is, what we really have to get at is why?
The U.S. Justice Department is asking the same questions. It's currently reviewing Suffolk's record on traffic stops involving minorities. Meanwhile, Cini vows that all complaints of bias will be taken seriously. For her part, Tamara Clark says more positive communication with cops is long overdue.
As far as the community and knowing and police, reaching out, just giving us an idea, this is why we're doing it, this is what we're doing. I don't find that too much with Suffolk County at all, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate.
For Newsday and News 12, I'm Thomas Mayer.
Be sure to tune in tomorrow when we'll look at the drug arrests on Long Island and whether minorities are treated unfairly in the system. For more information, just go to newsday.com and pick up Sunday's edition of Newsday. We are live at 5:11. Illegal drug use affects everyone on Long Island, but are minorities treated differently when it comes to arrests? Investigative reporter Thomas Mayer takes a look in the last of our two-part Newsday News 12 Long Island report, Unequal Justice.
Michael Abraham and Danielle McNerney both have a history of using hard drugs, and both were arrested multiple times by Suffolk police. But that's where the similarity ends.
I just want to say thank you.
In 2015, McNerney was pulled over and charged with possessing heroin. But instead of going to jail, she was offered a year of rehab, supervised by Suffolk's drug court.
They offer you help and treatment. I was involved in counseling, so it definitely was the better option as far as that or jail.
It's unfair. This is unfair.
Abraham says he was not offered a rehab program. Instead, he got probation for one drug possession charge and later wound up in jail for another.
Whites will get a program and I get sentenced with a felony, which follows me everywhere, ruins my chances of getting a job.
Is race a silent factor when drug cases are tried in Long Island courtrooms? Our study shows that when it comes to illegal drug possession on Long Island, more blacks and Hispanics wind up with serious charges than whites. In fact, over the past decade, 2/3 of all felony drug possession charges involved minorities. That doesn't make sense to Jeff Reynolds, the former director of the Long Island Council on Drug and Alcohol Addiction.
It's white folks that are using prescription pills. It's white folks who are using heroin. So when you look at where the arrests are landing, it doesn't reflect the current profile of what we're seeing on Long Island in terms of who's actually using the drugs.
Some experts point out that more whites can afford lawyers who know how to plea bargain.
Prosecutors may be more apt to downgrade the level of drug offense for white offenders than they are to downgrade the level of drug offense for Black and Latino offenders. They are receiving cases of white subjects who may have private attorneys who would ask that their client be subject to a drug treatment facility as opposed to being sentenced to prison or jail.
But Nassau's former acting police commissioner, who retired in July, said if white offenders get off easier, it's because they're usually caught with smaller amounts of drugs.
With heroin in particular, where whites are being arrested at a significant level, it's just the weights or their actions don't rise to a felony level.
From where LeVar Jackson sits, the facts seem obvious. Inside the Suffolk County Jail, the faces of drug offenders are mostly black and Hispanic. This drug rehab class is mainly all white.
When a white kid get in trouble, little Billy needs help. With that, when we commit acts of drug possessions or drug sales, we're doing that to poison the neighborhood.
Are white defendants more likely than minorities to get drug treatment instead of jail? The director of Suffolk's drug court says no, but he admits the court does not keep records by race.
We don't look at that as far as who is being arrested and that makeup. No, we do not.
At her drug court graduation, Danielle McNerney was surrounded by her lawyer and family, all of them grateful she got a second chance.
They were definitely happy about drug court because they would never want to see me in jail.
But inside the Suffolk County Jail, some inmates were wondering if they missed their second chance because of their race.
We need help as well.
For Newsday and News 12, I'm Thomas Mayer.
Now, since our visit, Suffolk says it's stepping up rehab awareness among those eligible for drug court. For more information, just go to newsday.com and be sure to pick up a copy of Sunday's edition of Newsday.